The most shocking thing was that 2 hours away in this city, it was like going into Jeff. We were 1.5 miles away from a mall. We were 2 blocks away from a hotel that would rival any Marriott, big name hotel that we have here. And it was shocking because a couple of my friends and I spent one day at the movies, at the mall. And we saw The Great Gatsby, which had just come out in the United States. It was an up-to-date movie. And to us, we were thinking, 2 hours away, there's people living with no electricity, no running water, barely enough to get by. And yet here we are, basically in a westernized city. So that was interesting to see the two sides of Africa. But after those 3 days we spent in the city, we got to do our little, highlight touristy thing of the trip. We traveled north to the Chobe district in Botswana, where we got to do a safari. And this is a 2-day safari. The first day we went on a riverboat cruise, and we got to just journey around the Chobe River and see elephants, just everything, crocodiles, monkeys, birds, everything. I was from me to Wally from an elephant. And the elephant just looking, because they're so used to humans. So the elephant was just looking at us and just eating, and we saw all of that. And then the next day we went on a safari via a truck and drove around, and we got to see 3 lionesses stalking a water buffalo. And it was, if you've ever seen a Lion King or have, grandkids who've watched the Lion King, that's what it was like. You just looked everywhere. Oh, there's an elephant, and there's a monkey, and there's some kind of little deer-looking thing. I didn't know the proper term for it. I was like, oh, look, it's a deer. No, it's something else, but yeah, it's a deer. We got to do that. And the last day, which is probably the highlight, we got to see Victoria Falls, which, if anyone's ever seen it or seen it on TV, it's miraculous, and it makes Niagara Falls look like running tap water, basically. So it took us an hour to get from one end to the other by walking. And it's massive, and it's just out in the middle of the jungle, and rainbows are everywhere, and it was just very much the highlight of a trip in Africa. And from there, we spent a total of about 26 hours flying back home from start to finish. So that was also not fun, but well worth it. Landed, came back home, got to tell all these stories. But that was my trip to Africa. And of course, it's open for any questions, because there's tons of stories that I have, but I don't want to, extend this until midnight, because I think I probably could. Yeah.
As far as the way it sounds, when you came back and started talking about your Africa trip, your other peers that went to San Antonio, what was the difference? How did that go over?
That was funny. Right when I first got back, I hooked up with one of my very best friends, and she had chosen Trinidad and Tobago, which we joked was like, it's the beach trip, because that's basically what they did. I said, so what did you guys do on your trip? She goes, well, we painted a church for a day, and we taught some kids for a day, and then we just went to the beaches. I said, well, what did you guys eat? Well, we had Subway, and we had some Grater's ice cream. That's just ridiculous. And I was just like, and so when I started talking about everything that I went on, she was definitely like, wow, I don't know if I could have done it, but that just sounds incredible. And so I talked to a couple of friends that went to San Antonio, and I was like, so was it fun? And they're like, well, yeah.
Will you do it again? I'm not now, but I'm glad you made that choice.
Oh, yes. As soon as I was over there and was with the host family, because at night I journal, we had to journal every night, and I would journal, and I was like, I'm so thankful for this opportunity. Because when else can I right now can't decide, hey, I'm going to go live with the host family in Africa for 2 weeks and just up and go. I didn't have to plan that. I didn't have to set up the families. I didn't have to make agreements of money and food. I didn't have to do anything. I just had to click it on a computer screen at 7 o'clock in the morning, and I was basically in. Yeah. So I'm thankful to Bluffton that they arrange all of that for us and make it so easy for us.
The village that you stayed at, how many people were actually in that village?
Roughly about 350 people. very small, very remote village. Most of the males in the village either worked at the cattle post, which is about 45 minutes away, or they worked at Juanin, and that's a diamond mine, because Botswana is heavily known for their diamonds. And so most of my male host relatives worked at the mines, which is an hour away, and they had to try to carpool as much as they could to get there.
Excuse me, do they realize how life is 2 hours away? Do they understand that and wonder why they can't be a part of it?
The main problem in Botswana is education right now. They have to take a test. Once they get to standard 7, which over here would be about 7th grade, they have to take a test, and this test is all in English. And if they pass this test, they can go on to university. And this university is located in the city. If they don't pass the test, their education stops. The problem is only roughly 18% of the population passes this test. So roughly about 20 kids get to go on to university and live in the city. And they come back all the time to talk to their family and try to help out their family. So their family, these people know about the city and they know about America. They think we're all rich. I try to explain to them that we have homeless people, and to them they were just like, no, you're kidding. They thought I was joking, because to them Americans are just wealthy, the wealthiest of all. And looking at it, yeah, I'm pretty wealthy as a broke college student. To them, I'm Daddy Warbucks, basically.
When you attended their church, could you determine what type of religion it was? I mean, like Protestant or Catholic or Muslim?
Bluffton University is Mennonite. We're affiliated with the Mennonite Church. And Botswana, the village themselves, have ties with the Mennonite Church. So the closest that I can say is that they're Mennonite, with a mix of obviously their own kind of flares and traditions. And right now it's interesting, because right now there's a generation gap between the adults and the grandparents, and then the younger generation. Because the adults and the grandparents, the women are all traditionally clothed. They wear the long skirts and they wrap their hair almost every day, and they always have a cover over their shoulders. Whereas the younger generation, girls my age that live there, are in pants and tank tops. And so the younger generation view the religion as, it's kind of hocus pocus, whereas the older generation, that's tradition, that's how it is.
Well, with the 350 around, you had a lot less than that, I would imagine, at church, didn't you?
We did. We attended a church. We drove out into the bush, and we attended a church that was completely made out of just limbs from trees, and they had built it, and it held about, I think there was about 15 of us, and it was pretty full. There wasn't a lot of room, and that was their new church that they had just built. So that was very interesting.
What's your ambition after graduation?
Hopefully either get a job, which most college graduates say, get a job. But I'm not too worried about that. I would really like to go straight to graduate school and obtain a master's, and then after that work somewhere overseas. Even though my mom might not like that idea about being so far away from home. But I really would like to go to the Middle East and do things. I really want to get a graduate degree somewhat in women's studies, and hopefully go to the Middle East, and work over there, just because the situation for women over there is just, it's not very good.
Any other questions for Natalie?